Remember when we got home raking up the fire and frying up those pieces of lap of mutton for her supper with the chutney sauce she liked, and the mulled rum? Could see her in the bathroom from the hearth, unclamping the busk of her stays, white, swish and soft flop her stays made on the bed, always warm from her, always liked to let herself out, sitting there after till near 2, taking out her hairpins, Milly tucked up in the Betty house, happy, happy. That was the night. Hmm. Oh, Mr. Bloom, how do you do? Oh, how do you do, Mr. Breen? No use complaining. How is Molly those times? Haven't seen her for ages. In the pink, Mr. Bloom said gaily. Milly has a position down in Mullingar, you know. Go away. Isn't that grand for her? Yes, and a photographer's there. Getting on like a house on fire. How are all your charges? All on the baker's list, Mr. Breen said. How many has she? No other in sight. You're in black, I see. You have no. No, Mr. Bloom said. I have just come from a funeral. Going to crop up all day, I foresee. Who's dead? When and what did he die of? Turn up like a bad penny. Oh dear me, Mrs. Breen said. I hope it wasn't any near relation. May as well get her sympathy. Dignam, Mr. Bloom said. An old friend of mine. He died quite suddenly, poor fellow. Heart trouble, I believe. Funeral was this morning. Your funeral's tomorrow. Well, you're coming through the rye. Diddle diddle dum dum, diddle diddle. Sad to lose the old friends, Mrs. Breen's woman eyes said melancholily. Now that's quite enough about that. Just quietly. Husband. And your lord and master? Mrs. Breen turned up her large 2 eyes. Hasn't lost them anyhow. Oh, don't be talking, she said. He's a caution to rattlesnakes. He's in there now with his law books, finding out the law of libel. He has me heart scalded. Wait till I show you. Hot mock turtle vapor and steam of new baked jam puffs, rolly poly poured out from Harrison's. New baked jam puffs. I'm gonna look up jam puff. I want to see what that is. Jam puff. Small pastry with fruit jam inside it. Opening her handbag. Chipped leather hat pin. Ought to have a guard on those things. Stick it in a chap's eye in the tram. Rummaging. Open. Money. Please take one. Devils if they lose 6 pence. Raise Cain. Husband barging. Where's the 10 shillings I gave you on Monday? Are you feeding your little brother's family? Soiled handkerchief. Medicine bottle. Pastille that was fell. What is she? There must be a new moon out, she said. He's always bad then. Do you know what he did last night? Her hand ceased to rummage. Her eyes fixed themselves on him, wide in alarm, yet smiling. What? Mr. Bloom asked. Let her speak. Look straight in her eyes. I believe you. Trust me. Woke me up in the night, she said. Dream he had. A nightmare. Indiges. I have to look that up. What is indiges? Indigestion? According to Roman historian Livy, Jupiter Indiges is the name given to the deified hero Aeneas. In some versions of the story, he was raised up to become a god after his death by Numicius, a local deity of the river of the same name at the request of Aeneas' mother Venus. Alright. Jupiter Indiges, said the ace of spades was walking up the stairs. The ace of spades, Mr. Bloom said. She took a folded postcard from her handbag. Read that, she said. He got it this morning. What is it? Mr. Bloom asked, taking the card. UP? UP. Up, she said. Someone taking a rise out of him. It's a great shame for them, well, whoever he is. Indeed it is, Mr. Bloom said. She took back the card, sighing. And now he's going round to Mr. Menton's office. He's going to take an action for £6,000, he says. She folded the card into her untidy bag and snapped the catch. Same blue serge. I don't know what that means. Serge? Dress? A serge dress. Serge wool. This sheath. I guess it's a type of wool. Alright. So serge dress she had 2 years ago. The nap bleaching. Seen its best days. Wispish hair over her ears. And that dowdy toque. I don't know what that means either. Dowdy? Dowdy? Unfashionable and without style in appearance. Typically used of a woman. Toque. A woman's small hat, typically having a narrow, closely turned up brim. And that dowdy toque, 3 old grapes to take the harm out of it. Shabby genteel. She used to be a tasty dresser. Lines round her mouth. Only a year or so older than Molly. See the eye that woman gave her, passing. Cruel. The unfair sex. He looked still at her, holding back behind his look his discontent. Pungent mock turtle oxtail mulligatawny. Wonder what that means. Mulligatawny. Mulligatawny. It's a soup. Is an English soup with origins in Indian cuisine. It looks very good actually. Oxtail. Mulligatawny. Hold on. It's a pungent mock turtle. Anyway. I'm gonna look up mock turtle. Oxtail. Mulligat. See what it comes up as. Probably come up from Ulysses. Anyway. It's some kind of soup. I'm hungry too. Flakes of pastry on the gusset of her dress. Gusset. Man, this book's so hard. Every word there's something. Unbelievable, the vocabulary. A piece of material sewn into a garment to strengthen or enlarge part of it, such as the collar of a shirt or the crotch of an undergarment. To strengthen it. The gusset of her dress. Daub of sugary flour stuck to her cheek. Rhubarb tart with liberal fillings. Rhubarb. So a daub is a cowder smear coat or smear with a thick or sticky substance in a carelessly rough or liberal way. A daub of sugary flour stuck to her cheek. Huh. Rhubarb tart with liberal fillings. Rich fruit interior. Josie Powell, that was. Josie Powell. I'll look that up. American photographer. In Luke Doyle's Long Ago, Dolphin's Barn, The Charades, UP, Up. So Luke Doyle. Doesn't seem to come up with anything. Luke Doyle, Dolphin's Barn. I'll look up Dolphin's Barn. Dublin. That's a place. Inner city suburb of Dublin. On the south side. Doyle's, Dolphin's Barn, The Charades, UP. Up. So let me just look. UP. Ulysses. Wonder what that. UP. Dates. The expression UP up dates as far back as Dickens, as quoted in OED Oxford English Dictionary. Up and away. Dennis Breen receives a postcard. The message on the postcard seems to be UP. Breen himself is infuriated and wants to sue the sender for the astronomical sum of £10,000. Mrs. Breen folds the postcard up and puts it in her bag, but still shows it to Bloom, who needs an explanation for the abbreviation. When others hear of the message, they laugh. Why is the message so potent? Why does Joyce repeat the expression 14 times in the pages of Ulysses? Robert Martin Adams carefully reviews 5 principal options. Surface and symbol. Don Gifford follows other commentators by throwing in 1 or 2 more possibilities. Nabokov preferred to associate the expression with UP spells goslings, apparently a schoolboy insult recorded principally in the English Midlands. Richard Ellman is attracted to the schoolboy humor of UP up, apparently the source of various potential urinatory or sexual innuendos. Lee Harper Bowen carries with the speculation game to the extreme with a specific medical diagnosis. Pees up or sprays his urine upward when urinating from a standing position because he has hypospadias and his urethral opening is within or behind his testes. To avoid the pitfalls of retrofitting the sense of the message, it seems safer from a linguistic point of view to look at what the expression UP might mean. Sam Sloat sensibly offers a conservative view. The spelling pronunciation of up adverb over finished beyond remedy. The expression for UP dates at least as far back as Dickens, as quoted in the Oxford English Dictionary. Anyway, it goes on and on. I'll have to come back. James Joyce, online notes. Huh. It's just so interesting. Everything in this book. Change the subject. Do you ever see anything of Mr. Beaufoy? Mr. Bloom asked. Mina Purefoy, she said. Philip Beaufoy, I was thinking. Playgrowers Club. Matcham often thinks of the master stroke. Did I pull the chain? Yes. The last act. Yes. I just called to ask on the way in, and is she over it? On the way in, is she over it? She's in the lying in hospital in Hull Street. Dr. Horn got her in. She's 3 days bad now. Oh, Mr. Bloom said. I'm sorry to hear that. Yes, Mrs. Breen said. And a house full of kids at home. It's a very stiff birth, the nurse told me. Oh, Mr. Bloom said. Oh. His heavy, pitying gaze absorbed her news. His tongue clacked in compassion. I'm sorry to hear that, he said. Poor thing. 3 days. That's terrible for her. Mrs. Breen nodded. She was taken bad on the Tuesday. Mr. Bloom touched his funny bone gently, warning her, "Mind, let this man pass." A bony form strode along the curbstone from the river, staring with a rapt gaze into the sunlight through a heavy stringed glass. Tight as a skull piece, a tiny hat gripped his head. From his arm, a folded dust coat. A stick and an umbrella dangled to his stride. "Watch him," Mr. Bloom said. "He always walks outside the lampposts." "Watch." "Who is he, if it's a fair question?" Mrs. Breen asked. "Is he Dotty?" "His name is Cashel Boyle O'Connor Fitzmaurice Tisdall Farrell," Mr. Bloom said, smiling. "Watch." "He has enough of them," she said. "Dennis will be like that one of these days." She broke off suddenly. "There he is," she said. "I must go after him. Goodbye. Remember me to Molly, won't you?" "I will," Mr. Bloom said. He watched her dodge through the passers towards the shop front. Dennis Breen in skimpy frock coat and blue canvas shoes shuffled out of Harrison's, hugging two heavy tomes to his ribs. Blown in from the bay, like old times, he suffered her to overtake him without surprise, and thrust his dull gray beard towards her, his loose jaw wagging as he spoke earnestly. "Meshuggah, off his chump." Mr. Bloom walked on again easily, seeing ahead of him in sunlight the tight skull-piece, the dangling stick, umbrella, dust coat. Watch him, going the 2 days. Watch him, out he goes again. One way of getting on in the world, and that other old mosey lunatic and those duds. Hard time she must have with him. U.P. up. I'll take my oath that Alf Bergen or Richie Goulding, that's Alf Bergen or Richie Goulding, wrote it for a lark in the Scotch house, I bet anything. Round to Menton's office, his oyster eyes staring at the postcard. Be a feast for the gods. He passed the Irish Times. There might be other answers lying there, like to answer them all. Good system for criminals. Code. At their lunch now. Clerk with the glasses there doesn't know me. Oh, leave them there to simmer. Enough bother waiting through 44 of them. Wanted smart lady typist to aid gentlemen in literary work. I called you naughty, darling, because I do not like that other word, world. Please tell me what is the meaning. Please tell me what perfume does your wife. Tell me who made the world. The way they spring those questions on you. And the other one, Lizzie Twigg. My literary efforts have had the good fortune to meet with the approval of the eminent peer A.E., Mr. Geo Russell. Geo Russell. No time to do her hair, drinking sloppy tea with a book of poetry. Best paper by long chalks for a small ad. Got the provinces now. Cook and general, ex-cuisine, housemaid kept. Wanted live man for spirit counter. Resp girl, R.C., wishes to hear of post in fruit or pork shop. James Carlo made that. 6.5% dividend. Made a big deal on Coates' shares. Canny. Cunning old Scotch hunks. All the toady news. Our gracious and popular Vicerine. Bought the Irish Field now. Lady Mount Cashel has quite recovered after her confinement and rode out with the Ward Union staghounds at the enlargement yesterday at Rathoath. Uneatable fox. Pot hunters, too. Fear injects juices make it tender enough for them. Riding astride. Sit her horse like a man. Weight-carrying huntress. No side saddle or pillion for her. Not for Joe. First to meet and in at the death. Strode as a broad mare some of those horsey women. Swagger round livery stables. Toss off a glass of brandy neat while you'd say knife. That one at the Grosvenor this morning. Up with her on the car. Wish swish. Stone wall or 5-barred gate. Put her mouth to it. Think that pug-nosed driver did it out of spite. Who is this, she was like? Oh, yes, Mrs. Miriam Dandrade, that sold me her old wraps and black undercloths in the Shelbourne Hotel. Divorced Spanish-American. Didn't take a feather out of her my handling them, as if I was her clothes horse. Saw her in the vice-regal party, when Stubbs the park ranger got me in with the Welland of the Express, scavening what the quality left. High tea. Mayonnaise I poured on the plums, thinking it was custard. Her ears ought to have tingled for a few weeks after. Want to be a bull for her. Born courtesan. No nursery work for her. Thanks. Wow. Alright. I'll stop there.